Emergency podcast after Iowa has landed their top two transfer portal targets, including at wide receiver, obviously a position of desperate need. This changes the offense, raises a ceiling for Iowa, and could reshape next season.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Coming to you with a bonus edition today, and glad to have you aboard with us, your team every day here on the Locked On Network, all throughout the week, and a little extra here on the weekend. Well, today we are going to talk a little basketball. Keys to beating Illinois on Sunday. What a massive matchup that is as Iowa tries to bounce back against Minnesota. We'll also be joined by Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. Full disclosure on that one, this was recorded earlier on Friday before the news that we are going to talk about Iowa adding two from the transfer portal and what some people believe their top two targets that they were after in safety Tyler Brown from James Madison, along with wide receiver Tony Diaz from Texas Rio Grande Valley. They get commitments from both, and that's where we begin today's conversation. And we got to start at wide receiver. Look, throughout this first week of the transfer portal, you certainly have heard me, if you're an everyday listener, talk about and lament that Iowa needed wide receivers. And Diaz was a name that we talked about right away. This is a guy that a season ago in his redshirt freshman campaign for a brand new D1 program, 67 catches, 881 yards, 11 touchdowns in that one. He was freshman of the year in the Southland Conference at the FCS level, 5'11", 180 pounds, a guy that certainly fits the mold of what they're looking for, and coupled with the big receivers that they have coming back for next season. Obviously, at the top of that list is Reese Vanderzee. You got a guy that can play inside in the slot. You have a guy that can play the second receiver and play outside as well. Very versatile. And it sounds like this is somebody that Tim Lester, Tyler Barnes, this was identified right away as a wide receiver that is gettable and a wide receiver, obviously, that they get a commitment from. Now, before we get this commitment, and in fact, we'll hear this from Tom Kakert, he was scheduled to visit Alabama. And I know here lately, we have a lot of scar tissue with Alabama football. And obviously, what went down with Caden Proctor, both the first time as he switched on the doorstep of signing day to Alabama, and then coming to Iowa for a couple of months, and then departing back to Alabama a season ago. I get it. Anytime, though, you're beating Alabama, and I know there'll be plenty of people out there, well, Alabama wasn't pushing hard. They hadn't brought him in for a visit yet. I don't care. Regardless of all that, you beat Alabama for a wide receiver. When you're Iowa, that is an absolute huge coup for this Iowa football staff. Opportunities, Virginia Tech, Illinois, Kentucky, Baylor, Arkansas, Cincinnati, Houston, Oklahoma State, and the aforementioned Alabama offer that was coming and a visit coming for him this weekend. This is a huge, huge gain. Also sounds like he has some capabilities, maybe of being in the return game on top of it, both as a kick and a punt returner. This is about as massive as it gets for Iowa in the transfer portal. This is not a program that's going to go out and get 15, 20 guys year after year, but you bring in a player of this ilk, you beat out the programs that you're beating out. To get a guy like this, it says a lot. It says a lot about Tim Lester being able to sell. And how about John Budmeyer? We were just talking earlier this week about, seeing some signs of something here, and you definitely get that. And now you look at this wide receiver group going into next season, and it goes from, well, we'll see, to now what they have. And they have Diaz, Reese Vanderzee, Dayton Howard, who at minimum is a good, solid, big target out there. Had the touchdown against USC, had that monster play against Rutgers, when they salted that game away earlier this season. KJ Parker didn't quite happen for him this year, but we know the staff is really high on him and still an incredibly young player. One guy that's almost been forgotten about was Jarrett Bowie, and I anticipated Bowie was going to be a guy that was going to be in the portal when things opened up last Friday. That's not the case. 2 years ago when he was out there playing, he showed at least a little something there. and Iowa can't be turning away bodies. Terrence Smith, the big 6'3" receiver from Illinois, he redshirted this past season, and now he's got 4 years of eligibility in front of him. Good, another one of those big targets out there. And then they bring in a recruiting class with a couple of different ones, and they continue to believe, and I continue to hear from a multitude of different people, that they think Xavier Stimson can come in right away and help right away. Wide receiver is a position that doesn't happen a ton, certainly at Iowa, but they believe they have that kind of upside with Xavier Simpson. And you look at the recruiting profile of Xavier Simpson out of Florida. So for Stinson, he took visits during the summertime to NC State, UCLA, Illinois, Wisconsin were the different places that he was visiting. Also had offers from Arkansas, Cincy, Duke, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan State, Pitt, Purdue, Syracuse, Vanderbilt, Virginia, Wake Forest. This dude is another wide receiver that Iowa doesn't get a ton of guys like this. Another good-sized receiver at 6'2", 185, and just a compliment that you're going to get out of that. Incredibly exciting times. And then we go from that one to another commitment that Iowa gets on Friday night from Tyler Brown to James Madison, who played in the college football playoff this past season. A guy that you look at the numbers from Pro Football Focus, they paint an absolute elite picture for Tyler Brown. Comes in 2 years still of eligibility remaining. And that's another thing definitely noticing with this class that they're putting together is they're looking at multi-year starters or multi-year eligibility, I should say, for these guys. It's not just a one-year rental, coming in, understanding, learning the program, and then going from there. This was another one that Iowa identified, and I think you can make a very strong argument right now that Iowa has landed their top 2 targets that they had in the transfer portal. Diaz, after that Alabama offer, it felt like it was over. Tyler Brown, following Bob Chesney out to UCLA. A lot of people thought that was going to happen. Not the case here. Hawkins from Villanova at safety, another one that was targeted, and the first commitment that they got. This is an exciting time. I know there's other programs that are bringing in a lot more dudes. There's a lot more going on, but for Iowa football, the way that they're built, the way that they do things, to go out and do this, this was as close to a first-week home run that Iowa has. Now, they're not done, and there's still more work that needs to be done inside the transfer portal. They still have to find a punter. Restaken on his way to Michigan State. Definitely have to do that. You're not going to go into a season without a punter, even though they're not going to punt, right? I mean, we got wide receivers now. All right. Yeah, there's probably going to be a few punts coming up this season. Obviously, got to have a punter there. Long snapper, another one that definitely needs to be part of the conversation when you're talking about those Iowa special teams. That is another need position that they have. I think another defensive tackle is probably up there on the wish list at this point, something that they're definitely going to have to be zeroing in on. And then from there, I think they're pretty good. Could there be another safety? I know a kid from Robert Morris is another one that they're looking at and potentially is going to be taking a visit. We'll see with the decision of Tyler Brown committing to Iowa from James Madison if that changes the equation for him. But all that aside, great first week and tremendous first week from this coaching staff putting this together. Credit once again to Tyler Barnes, the GM, making this happen, having the guys at the top of their wish list, the gettable targets, and going out there identifying and getting them to commit. These guys will be coming in. They'll be ready to practice, go through the offseason workouts, be ready for spring football. Good times, certainly, for Iowa football. Kirk Ferentz continues to do it. Portal Kirk, he strikes once again. Now, as mentioned, Tom Kakert joined me on my radio show earlier today, Miller and Condon, on the Iowa Sports Radio Network and 106.3 KXNO. So this was from earlier today. However, a lot of good information on there, but again, this is before these commitments, so if you're wondering exactly what's going on there, that's what it is. Want to give this to you, though, here as we come to you with a little bonus edition of Locked On Hawkeyes over the weekend. Had to do it after the big news. Plus, a little bit later on, want to talk some Iowa basketball. Keys to beating the Illini. We'll do that after we hear from Tom Kakert. He's up next on the portal. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Well, the college football playoff is down to just one game, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every game day of the playoffs, though we're down to just one. FanDuel gives users a profit boost that's waiting for you in the app. What I love, I already have an opinion on the national championship game with Indiana, another dominating performance, and Miami. What a scene it's going to be down there on South Beach for that one. You can ride with the favorite. think you're going to dominate on that front. Plus, you can do some other things on there as well. Put together a same game parlay, allow the players that you think are going to be outstanding in this one, anytime touchdown scores, a whole lot more. One thing I absolutely love about the FanDuel app. You apply the profit boost, and then you can go after bigger winnings. When you win, FanDuel pays you instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. Visit FanDuel.com and get your college football playoff profit boosts throughout every game.
Let's talk to Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Hello, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. Portaling. You know, I'm not in the portal yet.
Right.
Not in the portal.
You portaled, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, it's a little over 2 years ago I went to the portal.
I don't remember that.
Oh, went for over 2 on 3.
Oh, yeah, that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was good for everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's been fast. Don't you think, Tom? I mean, Rivals was great, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, old Chambliss was just denied his 6th year, apparently.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
How about that? So that contract will be null and void, I'm guessing, with Ole Miss. Anyways, good stuff. I appreciate that being sent to me, but it did interrupt my train of thought. So, but just back to the Rivals on 3. That's worked out well, Tom, from your perspective, has it not?
Yeah, because we ended up buying Rivals.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just got here earlier.
You did. Good stuff. Well, let's get into, let's start with the portal, then we'll move over to to basketball coming up this weekend. Obviously, Entringer was the one that kind of shook the foundations a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there another surprise coming, I guess, Tom, from what we consider a negative perspective?
You never,
Yeah. You never know.
the Entringer thing, you never know. CJ Bell went in today, but that was a freshman, and he was down the depth chart. So he may want to get closer to home. Don't know. The portal is just you never know when a kid's going to just decide to up and leave. And Entringer is the classic example of that. He didn't outright say, yeah, I'm coming back, but he kind of just danced around it and made it seem like he was coming back. And I don't know. I kind of go back to when he walks on senior day, and that just seemed like an odd decision at the time, especially if you think you're coming back. And then now it all makes sense. Now we know why he did it the way he did. So, but that's the world we live in. So good for him.
Tom, you look at kind of the foundational movement, a couple of guys maybe showing up at Michigan State. We see Dakin, we see Jazz Patterson that are making their way there. Do you read anything more into it, or is it just the era that we're in? Do you take this a step further, or is it even worth the headspace to worry about down the road what this means, guys leaving, things like that? Because overall, in comparison to most every other program out there still aren't a ton of guys that are leaving Iowa.
Yeah, there's still not when you compare it to most places. And the Dakin thing made complete sense, right? He was recruited to Iowa by LeVar Woods, and he feels really comfortable with LeVar Woods. So it makes sense that he would want to go and continue his career with LeVar Woods. The Patterson thing, I'm wondering if that was just his best offer and best opportunity. And that's my guess. His best offer, best opportunity to play at that level, and probably some, decent cheddar along the way. So why not? And I hope Jazz does really well. I hope he gets to be their lead back and has a great year, because he's a really solid kid.
I guess Hawkeye fans are holding out hope that there's a receiver coming to Iowa City. Can you shed any light on that, Tom? Is there a receiver that's kicking the tires on Iowa that you're aware of?
I haven't really heard much about. I just heard the two guys that one of them committed to Cincinnati, Cade Wolford. The guy that they really liked early on was Tony Diaz, the kid from Texas Rio Grande Valley, who true freshman and did really, really well this year and got offered by Alabama. But he's been offered by Alabama now, so I think everybody kind of tunes that one out, like, maybe not. But you never know. I've kind of coined this thing. Trent will probably agree with me that Iowa almost has to pay a tax on receivers,
no doubt,
to get them. They just almost have to overpay for them because of the earned or not, the reputation of the offense is they don't throw the ball a lot. And receivers want to do one thing. They want to catch the football. So it's just how it is. And that's one of the things that's always going to be an issue, and they're probably going to have to pay a tax on it.
You you mentioned the Diaz moving on, losing a guy like Wolford, who looked like a perfect fit, a guy that was a returner, averaged nearly 27 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns, had 19 catches. I mean, a perfect fit for what I was trying to do. You have to pay that tax. It's that chicken and egg thing, isn't it, Tom? Where you can't throw the ball because you don't have receivers. You don't have receivers, so you can't throw the ball. Quarterback, all the different things. It's not just the tax you have to do. It's the selling part of it. And it just doesn't feel like, for whatever reason, the Iowa staff and Tim Lester and company, the message just isn't working with receivers. However, this freshman class, the Stinson kid, they believe that he's going to come in and be able to play right away.
Yeah, they really believe that he's going to help them immediately. He's going to get in that semester, so they're really high on him. The Schaefer kid too, out of Wisconsin, they like him, but they think Stinson can come in right away and help them. And Wolford would have been like the Nick Easley, Caden Weegan kind of just 5'10" white wide receiver that catches things and is quick in space and kind of make things happen. That's who he was, and it seemed like that's kind of something that they need in this offense. So, but maybe it'll turn out to be somebody else now. Who knows? I know they're not done, and they're still trying to get more guys, but we'll have to wait how it. And safety now becomes an important position for them, really, because Xavier Wampa's done and Cohen Intringer's gone, so you're 2 guys with experience back there, and Cale Klarick, who was one of their backups, he's left too. I think probably because they told him he wasn't going to start. And they've already got Anthony Hawkins from Villanova. The guy that they really, really like, though, is the Tyler Brown kid from James Madison. And we'll see if they can. He's on campus this week, so we'll see if they can reel him in. He would be a really good get. And also Xavier Stiles from Robert Morris is another kid that's been on campus that I think they've got a shot at. He's going to Pittsburgh on Saturday, so we'll see. But if they can get both those guys to go with the kid from Villanova, Hawkins, I think they'll be in better shape at the back end.
Let's talk a little basketball. Illinois comes to town. Trent and I both, when we looked ahead to this 4-game stretch, thought, boy, it sure be nice if you get this Minnesota win, because here comes Illinois, and then on the road, Purdue and Indiana. Obviously, the Minnesota game did not end at the favorable result. So when you look back at that game, Tom, what went wrong? Obviously, Sturtz, he struggled shooting the basketball, foul trouble early in the basketball game, struggled, didn't score in the first half, finished with 21. Fulgaris was blanked in the game. When you look back at Minnesota, or when McCullum looks back, what did he say about the game from earlier this week?
Yeah, it was just one of those games where it felt like at one point Iowa was in control, and then they weren't. And I thought and I think we're going to see more and more of this moving forward. They used number 6, Minnesota, Reynolds, I think was his name, used him to kind of just bully Sturtz, got really physical with him, got in his space, and he could stay in front of him. And I thought that really bothered Bennett. He fought through those screens that they were trying to set up top. And the result was he was 0 of 9. Now, Bennett,
and Reynolds led the team in scoring.
Yeah. And, I think, for all of Fran McCaffrey's flaws, you can never say he didn't work the refs, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that Ben, and I asked Ben this after the game. I said, the foul disparity was there again in a Big Ten game. And, do you need to work the refs more? What do you need to do there? And he just kind of said, I need to teach the guys how to draw fouls. But I go back to, and you guys will probably remember this play. They get a run out, and Tavion Banks is going to the hole and got bodied and missed it. and no call. And then on the other end, number 6 goes to the cup and gets fouled and finishes. And I thought that was a huge play in the game.
Yeah, Crocker Johnson.
Really massive play.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that.
Yeah.
Tom, it's Illinois. This is the rivalry matchup, certainly for you and for our friends listening over in the Quad Cities on 1230 a.m. Hello to all of you out there. This is certainly a big opportunity, a big spot that is in front of them. Boswell, speaking of good defenders, as good a defender as there is in the Big Ten, he'll get Bennett Sturts on the other end of the floor. What can you tell us about this Illinois team, and how difficult will it be for the Hawkeyes to find a way in the win column?
They're a challenging team. They're according to Ken Palm, they're the biggest team in the country this year.
Really?
Yeah, and they've got both the Ivisic brothers, and they're both over 7 foot. They've got guys.
Yes, 7'2" and 7'1". Wow. Yeah,
they got some big fellas on that team, and they've got some shooters with Peja Stojakovic's kid is a really good shooter and a good player. The kid to watch is that Keaton Wagler kid. He's a true freshman.
Okay.
He was like a top 150 kid, and he is just tearing it up lately. He has been playing terrific basketball, and he's 6'6", got a little ranginess to him, can shoot threes, can get to the basket. So Iowa is going to have their hands full. And, the one thing that we worry about with Iowa is going up against size, because they, can give up some on the backboard. But I kind of think this is a get-right game for Iowa. This is just Illinois had to play last night against Rutgers at home. So they've got a shorter turnaround and going on the road.
Yep.
And Iowa's going to be a little bit healthier. I think they had, a little bug going through the team earlier this week, but I think everybody's gotten healthier now. So I just feel like this is one of those get-right games for Iowa coming up. But if they don't get it, they're probably staring at a 4-game losing streak. And I don't know if Ben McCollum would remember the last time he had a 4-game losing streak.
I would be surprised if he did. Yeah, I didn't realize Wagler's leading the team in scoring. Hey, Tom, listen, thanks for jumping on as always. HawkeyeReport.com, part of On3 Media. Tom, thank you. We'll talk to you in 7 days. Appreciate it, Tom.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
See you, buddy. Let's get from the Hawks to the Clones. Here's Eugene.
All right, that is Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report from earlier today during a radio program on Friday. And you can tell the news a little bit old there. And the big one, Tony Diaz has made his commitment to Iowa. Good preview there and a good look at Illinois. So what's it going to take for the Hawkeyes to knock off the Illini? We'll talk about that. The key to a victory, the big matchup Sunday, 11 a.m. tip-off at Carver. Let's get out there and fill the building up. We'll talk about that next. Locked On Hawkeyes. Thank you for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's an opportunity for you to enjoy Locked On Hawkeyes each and every day, just like you normally do, but you can do it ad-free. It works with Apple Podcasts, with Spotify, all the major podcast apps that are out there. Also, a members-only club that we have where we can interact together. Don't have to worry about some of the negativity that is out there. Going to have fun on our Discord server. You'll have an opportunity with that, not just with Locked On Hawkeyes, but with all of our Locked On hosts. And you can jump aboard with that as well with our Everydayer Club. We have other tiers available as well. Opportunity to text me all throughout the day. We got a text club that is going on, and we're going to have some game watches together coming up as we're going to watch the games together, college basketball with both the men and the women. That's coming up if you're part of the club. Go right now to lockedonhawkeyes.supercast.com. That's where you can find out all the information, lockedonhawkeyes.supercast.com, and see if becoming an everydayer makes sense for you. All right, back one final time here on a bonus edition of Locked On Hawkeyes, coming to you Saturday morning as we get a big night of commitments for Iowa football. I was working high school hoops on Friday night, and definitely excited about this news on the Iowa football front. Excited for Sunday as well, with the Iowa men back in action, trying to bounce back after that disappointing loss against Minnesota from earlier this week. As you heard us just talk about with Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report earlier, it's a really good Illinois team. It's a really good Illinois team. The size is real. One thing that did jump off. If there's one, I guess, gettable area, if you will, something that Illinois isn't very good at, they don't steal the ball a ton. Boswell's a really good on-ball defender overall, but they are towards the bottom of the country in both forcing turnovers this year and steal percentage. That means not a lot of empty possessions for Iowa. Ben McCollum on Friday, during his press conference previewing the game, he mentioned that they're looking for more outside of just Bennett starts doing things. And I think we can all see that definitely. It'll be interesting. Brendan Hassan, what kind of role is he carved out at this point in time? And if there's going to be an opportunity for him, if you're looking for more offense, that's definitely a direction to go. I think in this game, there's a couple of things that need to happen. First, Iowa needs to outshoot him at the free throw line. Iowa needs to use the home court advantage to their advantage, as we see in college basketball. This is not just an Iowa thing, not just a Big Ten thing. This is a college basketball thing. Probably going to have to get to the line, outshoot at the line, Illinois by 12 to 15, something in that range. Definitely something that will help and go a long, long range. Secondly, I don't think they have to win on the boards, but they can't get blown out. It can't be where we look up and Iowa only has, 15 defensive rebounds in the game, something like that. They got to do well on the boards and keep it within shouting distance of each other. If Illinois out-rebounds them, it's not an automatic loss by any means, like 31-30, something like that on the boards. That's not going to be a death knell for this Hawkeye team, but at least keep it even there. Manoa is going to be incredibly important. Tavion Banks talked about the health of this squad just a little bit. That is definitely a big one as well. And then out at the three-point line. Though Illinois is shooting plenty of three-pointers this year. In fact, they're taking some of the most three-pointers on the season. They've been good, but not elite on the three-point line. Chase them off that three-point line. If you can force them to shoot under 30% from the three-point line with the Iowa defense, I think that's a real possibility. I think that's enough for Iowa to pull off the victory. Going to be a fun one. Make your way to Carver. I was there last Saturday for the matchup against UCLA. Sounds like it's getting closer and closer. Maybe not a sellout, but going to be good numbers in the building for that one. And great to see people getting out there supporting this basketball program and supporting Ben McCollum and Iowan coming back to the hometown team and making it happen for Iowa. Need to bounce back now and get this victory against the Illini, because next week it's Purdue on Wednesday, and then a quick turnaround on Saturday against Indiana. Oh boy, as tough of a stretch as Iowa certainly has, it feels like this season. We will be back with you on Sunday night. We will recap what we see on both the men and the women. Any more portal news, we got you covered as well on that front, as Iowa football continues to do some work in the portal, and we keep you updated here. Your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast, Locked On Hawkeyes. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're just listening on the podcast side, thank you for that. If you have a moment, a 5-star review, they go a really long way, and all that helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again here on just another day. Until then, go Hawks.